More Canadians now have access to a medically assisted death than ever before after the controversial Bill C-7 was signed into law late last night. Now, previously, death had to be reasonably foreseeable for you to be granted what's also known as MAID. That isn't the case anymore. It's left some people furious, while others are breathing a sigh of relief.
I don't like to use the word suicide because it's not. I want to live. I want to live more than anything, but this isn't living. This is existing.
Cheryl Romare has been living with a rare spinal and autoimmune condition since October 2017. The 44-year-old mother says she's exhausted all treatment options available. After giving it extensive thought with her family, she applied to move forward with a medically assisted death in June 2019. However, as she first told CityNews back in February, under the previous law, she wasn't granted access to MAID because her death wasn't deemed reasonable or foreseeable. The amendments in Bill C-7 changed that. Romare tells us when she heard the news, she froze and then felt a sense of relief wash over her.
It hit me physically, and I cried it out actually for a minute before I texted my parents.
The newly reworked law now means that those seeking approval for a doctor-assisted death are put into two categories: those whose death is imminent and those whose death isn't. For the latter, they must meet a list of criteria, which includes having a serious and incurable disease, illness, or disability, are in an advanced state of decline, and are suffering intolerably. Before they can move forward with the procedure, they first must complete a 90-day reflection period. They must also meet two doctors who must both acknowledge that the patient has made an informed decision, which includes access to counseling and support services. Speaking one-on-one with City News, Canada's Attorney General believes this new version of the law strikes an appropriate balance.
Those are quite important safeguards to make sure that people have thought about this, they've thought about the options. It's a non-end-of-life scenario, so they have thought about what life would be like with appropriate support.
Though some members of this country's disability community have been fighting the changes, saying Bill C-7 goes too far and will push people with disabilities to end their life because they're not receiving proper government support.
There is a history in this country of legislating this idea that disabled people don't have the right to exist. So when you have a government that is allowing people the choice to die without really funding the choice to live and to survive in our countries, it scares me.
Hello. Dr. John Clifford has been providing MAID to dozens of patients for several years now. While he's in favor of removing the reasonably foreseeable clause, he does have concerns about administering a medically assisted death to someone who doesn't have a clear medical diagnosis for their chronic or insufferable pain.
If the degree of suffering is based on subjective symptoms alone, be it a symptom or a collection of symptoms called a syndrome, I won't be involved in doing provisions unless there's a clear association between the reports of suffering and a medical condition.
Romare says she's ready to move forward with her request to choose MAID, saying it's been a difficult family discussion, but one both her parents and children support.
They are proud. They're proud of the fight. They're proud that I didn't give up 3 years ago. Finally, there's an end in sight. And there hasn't been one until now.
There's multiple other amendments that have been made to the new reworked law. One that's about 2 years away is mental illness. There's a task force, doctors, parliamentarians who are coming together. We're going to be spending the next 12 months to figure out how mental disease will fit into future MAID legislation. Now, ahead on City News, in about 10 minutes, we're going to sit down and speak one-on-one with Canada's Attorney General and Minister of Justice, David Lametti, about what all of these new changes mean to you.